want to add a story in regard to my chronic fatigue syndrome. A number of us were on a globalization of theological education trip to the Philippines and to China in the early 90s. This was as my chronic fatigue was lessening. I was getting stronger and stronger, and before the relapse of 1997, this was in the very early 90s. Our group had been to Manila, and then we divided into smaller groups, and a small group of us went to the southernmost part of the Philippines. We arrived in a coastal city, and then we were taken by pickup truck to the foot of a mountain, coastal mountain, where we would be climbing to a village the next day. We slept overnight. I remember sleeping on a table. We woke early in the morning and started to climb the mountain. We took along our water and everything that we might need. We were going to meet the people for church, and we walked up. It was lovely in the morning. Walked up the mountain, and we could hear the sound of the people singing. They were waiting for us to come. Even though the language was different, we could hear the cadence of the Kyrie. So when we arrived, the service began, and it was really fine. Then we went on to one of the village homes for lunch. Again, a wonderful experience. After lunch, well, what do you do after lunch? As in many cultures, you visit the neighbors. But it just so happened that the neighbors were straight down another mountain and up a second mountain. And there are no switchbacks, straight down and straight up. It was 95 degrees at least, and at least 95% humidity. But of course, we were going to do what our hosts invited us to do. As we went down and up the second mountain at the top, I had a chronic fatigue episode. I was, incapacitated. But the people there knew what to do. Even though I didn't speak their language and they did not speak mine, they motioned that I should stay on my feet and just be calm while a woman came out with a soft cloth with water and kept my body from getting any warmer. After a while, they motioned that I should sit down, and one of the men climbed a coconut tree and got a fresh coconut so I could have coconut milk to drink. It was absolutely a wonderful experience. But then the dilemma. The rest of our group was to go on to visit more neighbors, and there was one interpreter among us, but it was obvious that I couldn't go on. It was also obvious that there was no way anyone could carry me back. The form of transportation we had was 2 mountains back, the pickup truck. I don't think I've ever been so far from home and so far from medical care, at least that we're accustomed to. And yet I never felt more safe. 2 women, Narita and Rebecca, were my sisters. They made it clear that they would walk me back while the rest of the group went on. And I was in their care, even though, again, we could not communicate in words. They took me one arm on each of my sides, upheld by these women, and they walked me slowly back to the village. It would take us 2 hours because they kept saying, "Hanawi Lakau," walk slowly, Norma. We would walk a step or two, kind of like when you've had surgery in a hospital in the United States and you're up for the first time with all the gear and you're walking extraordinarily slowly. So there we were in the Philippines on these wonderful mountain, coastal, palm tree venue, and we'd walk a few steps. They'd wave to neighbors across onto another mountain. We'd walk a few steps, we'd wait. We'd walk a few steps, we wait. After 2 hours, I was no worse for wear, and they had walked me, literally walked me back to safety. About the time we got back, our group had returned from their other visits because, of course, they could walk much more quickly. And I could then ask through the interpreter, how was it these women knew what to do? And they said, well, they'd had training through their base Christian community in Bible study and sharing the faith, and also in how to help each other in healthcare needs. Well, I was so glad to be joined by my comrades again that I hardly noticed Narita and Rebecca slipping off into the night.